Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And I wanted to talk about a topic that's, really been weighing on me. Very bothersome as of late. So, a few days ago, I'm not a big Kevin Hart fan. I never have been. I watched one of his comedy specials on Netflix. Didn't do it for me. The guy's charismatic. He's got a good presence to him, but I'm just not a fan. I don't enjoy his work. But, that doesn't mean that I can't respect the guy. It doesn't mean that I wholeheartedly dislike him or anything. But, he's scheduled, to host the Academy Awards. And, I wasn't even aware of this, because I don't watch the Academy Awards. I don't need a bunch of, bozos to tell me what the best movie of the year is. I watched them years ago, and, after getting a taste of them, I never really watched it again. It's a very pretentious event, full of a bunch of, well-to-dos. It's just like, I get it, you're an actor. It's a very big deal if somebody wins, but whatever. I don't think Kevin Hart was nominated for anything with his comedies. He just was there to entertain the crowd. And the Academy Awards is very, strict. You can't say anything. We've seen really funny comedians being reduced to basically, just very bland and boring blank slates, pretty much. So, it may be a good thing that we didn't see somebody like Kevin Hart reduced to that. But here's the thing. So, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he suddenly resigns and, gives up the position and steps down as host of the Academy Awards. And why was it? Why did this happen? Because something was dug up on him from almost a decade ago. He made some homophobic tweets, and I've looked at the tweets and everything, and I'll put them up here edited, so I don't get in trouble. But thing is, they're stupid. Look, they're dumb. They're not funny in any way or anything like that. But this is how a lot of guys talk. And it's just, it's not like a proud thing or anything like that. You shouldn't be proud for talking like that and using that sort of language. But, it was 10 years ago. And nobody knew about it until then. They're claiming that some people reporting anyway, that the Academy found out about it. Really? It's funny how, only recently, all of a sudden, people's pasts have been dug up, Years ago, it was we're finding things out from people from, years ago that they did. And, now is the era of, everything being exposed. And we thought maybe that was a good thing, with, say, Harvey Weinstein and such, a bunch of dirtbags, getting what they deserved. But like all things, they spiral out of control. When somebody gets a big idea, there's a lot of copycats. And now it's gone beyond, say, sexual harassment. It is now about catching everybody for every little thing that they said or did in the past. And it's all about ruining people's lives. And that's where it bothers me. Because now, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a lot like it was for Louis C.K., a very successful comedian. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, Louis C.K. was very popular, had an amazingly great show on FX. He was a fan. I was a fan of Louis C.K. He pushed the envelope with a lot of his jokes and everything. He was very original, very funny. But, one wrong move and his career was over. He tried to see after, gave it some time for everything to blow over, came back, and he was not accepted at all. The people shitted on him. They did not accept him back. They booed him, and since then we haven't heard from Louis C.K. And I feel like Kevin Hart is going to share a similar fate. I really do. I think that his career is pretty much over. Because now he's been labeled a homophobe. He's going to be labeled as being divisive. That, people are making like, oh, he doesn't want, like, you know, gay people to watch his act, and that's not what, you know, what's implied at all. First of all, this was something he was joking around with Dwayne Wade, the basketball player, making fun of him as a joke. Another friend that he had, Wayne215, I don't know who that is. I think it's just a personal friend. And it's really funny. It's because it's very, very selective. Now, I don't know about Kevin Hart. You know, there's a lot of there's been a lot of witch hunting, and, you know, some people were saying that at first, you know, it started off with Bill O'Reilly, so maybe was this more of a conservative type of thing, and now we see, you know, that it's mixed. It's just everybody. You know, everybody is not safe from this firestorm that seems to have no bounds. You know, everyone is basically a suspect right now in Hollywood or any form of entertainment. It's just all a matter of time before something stupid that they said from years ago will be unearthed, and, you know, they will be ruined. And I think that's going to happen with Kevin Hart. I don't want that to happen. That's not me doing wishful thinking, but we've seen it a bit too many times now. People's careers have come to an end. We thought with Louis C.K. that things would just blow over with him, and surely enough, they didn't. His career is pretty much over. I don't think that he'll ever be accepted in the good graces of the elite once again. And once the elite doesn't want you, the elite will throw you away. For example, with Roseanne, look at that. I mean, this has been the year. You know, Roseanne did the tweet. She did that to herself. She didn't think before she tweeted. She was on the top of the world, and, you know, she fucked herself up. I mean, but this is a little bit different. You know, Kevin Hart was just fooling around, and, you know, Kevin Hart was known back then. He wasn't, I don't think he really started to gain a lot of popularity until, say, 2011. That's when I really started to hear from him. And his specials started to gain a lot of steam, you know, through Netflix and you know, HBO and all these, you know, movies that he would release. But now also, a few days after Kevin Hart, we have a Heisman Trophy recipient in Kyler Murray. And this young athlete, you know, all he wants to do is enjoy his, you know, award. That he is the best in NCAA basketball. He is the best college basketball player. And what happens? All of a sudden, you have tweets resurfacing. And this is basically where we bridge the gap here. And we have to basically, you know, call a spade a spade. They say about this guy that, you know, he's also had some homophobic tweets in the past. You know, he used the F word while talking to somebody. And this is from when he's 14 or 15 years old approximately. So he's just a knucklehead kid. Now, okay, Kevin Hart was a bit older when he said these things, but nevertheless, it's dumb shit. And all these Hollywood actors had said dumb things. And the funny thing is that, you know, I don't know if it was Kyler Murray himself, but somebody had said it on Twitter. These tweets did not resurface. They were dug up. And the funny thing about this is we actually know who probably started this whole fiasco, or who we know definitely who really brought it to the forefront, and that was Scott Gleason of USA Today. This guy could not wait. He even writes in his very own hit piece article on this kid Kyler Murray. He says, "Oh, they wouldn't respond right away when I asked them about his tweets." This guy wrote a hit piece, and, you know, there was massive backlash. A bunch of different personalities, you know, lashed back at this guy, including some friends of Kyler. And, you know, this piece of trash journalist, I mean, he calls himself a sports journalist. It reminds me of these video game journalists. It reminds me of all journalists. They're all trash. All they do is yellow journalism and muckraking. You look at this article, and by the second paragraph, he's already tearing into a Heisman Trophy recipient. If he was such a big sports fan, you know, sports journalists are primarily supposed to be sports fans. They're supposed to represent sports fans, tell sports fans what they want to hear, you know, write interesting articles that will stimulate their mind, you know, educate them further on the sports, you know, and it's not what this guy is doing. He's feeding in to the trendy nature of controversy. And he says, and he credits himself as he looks at sports under a critical lens. Okay, well, this is not really sports anymore, what we're looking at here. You're talking about somebody in sports, but this is like something I'd expect out of, you know, the National Enquirer or some type of magazine like that. I would expect that out of like the trashy tabloids at the checkout counter at the supermarket. You wouldn't expect that from USA Today, but USA Today has always been a tabloid. It's really not a newspaper. It's a joke. It really is, and it's always been a joke. And here you see like the sports section. It's kind of political. You know, you're trying to sell this, you know, big college sports star as a homophobe. That's not very that's not sports analysts right there. That you're not you know, critiquing his game plan. You're not talking about his basketball skills and, you know, whether or not he deserved this trophy based on his athletic merits. You're talking about, you know, how you feel as a social justice warrior and what he should and should not say. That's not really your place. You're not really qualified to talk about that. And just about almost every single journalist is not qualified to really critique what somebody should and shouldn't be saying. We have free will. We can say what we want. People say stupid things, and I'm not saying what Kyler Murray was really intelligent comment. No, you look at those comments, and you see they're actually quite unintelligent. They're stupid. They're dumb, and he regrets them. You know, he said these when he was much younger, and we could all move on with our lives. But that's not good enough for Scott Gleason. He publishes the apology, and he still has to take Kyler to task and say, "Oh, I don't understand, you know, why they couldn't be reached for comment. I want to know, like, why? Why do you need to be responded to so quickly? Oh, the elite sports journalist Scott Gleason is not getting a response, so, you know, we have to hold him accountable. We have to hold Kyler Murray accountable for this. It's madness." And it's like he already knew. He was already waiting in the wings for this, because he saw right before the weekend started what happened with Kevin Hart, and he knew that this was going to be a surefire topic. But unlike what happened to Kevin Hart, it didn't really have quite the same sting that he was probably hoping for. And of course, you know, Kevin Hart's a much bigger, you know, much more popular figure. This kid's already on the rise, and he already wants to destroy this kid, Scott Gleason. It's disgusting. And so, with all this said and done, I think it's very interesting to point out what Nick Cannon has been up to on Twitter. Well, he's been up to exposing a few people. Chelsea Handler, one Sarah Silverman, and Amy Schumer. Yes, it's true. It all appears that all of them have said the F word one time or another. And no, I'm not talking about the swear word. I'm talking about the synonym, the, you know, more offensive word for gay. They have said that all on Twitter in the past. And somehow, some way, it hasn't really seemed to affected their fame much. They haven't ever been called out on any of these tweets, as Nick Cannon points out. And it's a very good point. They, Sarah Silverman even goes so far as calling the contestant on The Bachelor this very word. Chelsea Handler also using the word. Amy Schumer also criticizing someone for seeing Skyfall years ago, calling him that word. And Nick Cannon asked the question, where's the backlash? Now, you could also say, we have to look at things, from an open perspective, of course. Is Nick Cannon right? The two wrongs make it right. Somebody had brought that up in my Sonic Fox video. Very interesting perspective. Maybe we'll talk about that perspective in a future video. But is it okay to criticize? If I am taking somebody to task over them taking a certain group to task, am I also wrong too for criticizing these people? I don't think so. When it's when it's definitely justly due, and I think Nick Cannon is doing a great service because there is a certain sense of favoritism in Hollywood. It seems like certain people we know are bad people are not really getting their just desserts, while others like Kevin Hart, who seem to play it safe for the most part. I might not be a big fan of him, but he seems pretty professional. He doesn't really step on any toes. He's really stayed out of politics, unlike a lot of these other people like Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, and Chelsea Handler. He stayed out of politics and somehow found himself in trouble for using the same exact word that these three other chicks used. I find that to be odd, and people, of course, are doing damage control over this, rushing to their defense, but I don't really see a difference. And I credit Nick Cannon for actually coming forward and saying this. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do people gain from this? They've ruined people's lives. For example, it's a slightly different topic, but Louis C.K.'s career is over. Kevin Hart is going to have a very hard time finding work for this. Who knows if even the current movie projects that he's working on, if they're even going to keep him on due to the controversy. They might feel that it's not worth it, that he might have divided the audience, you could say, and maybe fearing that maybe gay people will not want to come see his future movies, so directors might cut him in favor of another actor. God knows what could happen with this Heisman Trophy recipient. Is Kyler Murray, maybe people might take what he said to heart. Maybe people rushing to his defense against Scott Gleason isn't going to be enough. So at least somebody like Nick Cannon is looking out for others in Hollywood. The only thing is, though, I would, if I were Nick Cannon, I'd be very careful, because it seems like once somebody speaks up, it looks like their career is on the line. So I would just say to Nick Cannon to please be careful, and it's a good service that you're doing, trying to help out these other people, with your voice, but be careful, because people will have you in their crosshairs just as fast, pal. So guys, this is very troubling. It's very bothersome. I don't like seeing people's careers ruined like this. It's, if you guys enjoyed this video, though, please hit a thumbs up, hit a thumbs down if you didn't, and tell me why. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. Check out some of the other content that I have posted here. And thank you for watching, guys. Until next time.